The council chamber, once a place of political discourse, now resembled a battlefield. Shattered glass and debris littered the floor, and the air was thick with the acrid smell of burnt circuits. Captain Alina Vargas' heart raced, not just from the adrenaline of combat, but from the realization that her actions had pushed humanity into even murkier waters. As the council members regained their composure, whispers of dissent spread through the assembly. Alina's eyes flicked to the console at the front, where the holographic images of her crew flickered nervously, reflecting their uncertainty. "Enough!" Councillor Vrax's voice rang out, slicing through the murmurs. He stood, his form imposing, eyes narrowed. "Your recklessness has endangered not just your crew, but the integrity of the council itself. You've proven yourselves a liability." Alina clenched her fists. "We defended ourselves, Councillor. The pirates sought to kill us all. You saw it with your own eyes." She stepped forward, determination fueling her voice. "If anything, we showed that we can stand united against a common threat. Isn't that what you want? Isn't that the strength you claim to value?" Vrax's tentacles curled, his expression unreadable. "Your bravado may work in your own world, but here, among the council, it is seen as defiance." He turned to the assembly, seeking support for his judgment. "Humanity has proven itself reckless, and we cannot allow such instability to spread." A ripple of agreement stirred among the delegates, and Alina felt the ground beneath her shift. In this moment, she was not just fighting for her crew, but for the future of humanity among the stars. "Please," she implored, her voice steadying as she locked eyes with Vrax. "Consider the implications of your decision. Exile would condemn us to isolation, when we should be striving for understanding." The chamber fell silent, all eyes on the council, as the gravity of the moment sank in. Just then, a soft voice broke through the tension. "Perhaps we should hear from the crew," suggested a delegate from a more neutral race, her gaze thoughtful. "They witnessed the attack, and their perspectives could inform our judgment." Alina seized the opportunity. "Yes, let my crew speak. We are not just soldiers, we are the embodiment of humanity's potential. We can be more than what you fear." A murmur of agreement echoed through the chamber, and Vrax reluctantly nodded. "Very well. One representative from your crew may speak." He gestured towards the soldiers, and Alina felt a rush of hope. "Ensign Torres," she called, her voice cutting through the chaos. The young ensign stepped forward, trembling slightly but determined. He took a deep breath and addressed the council. "I joined the resolute to protect our home, to explore the stars, and to learn. We don't wish to harm anyone. Our fight was for survival. If you cast us out, you'll only strengthen our enemies." The words resonated, but Vrax remained unmoved. "One voice does not change the reality of your actions. You endangered not just your lives, but the peace of the galaxy. We are left with no choice." The chamber fell into an uneasy silence, the weight of impending judgment hanging heavy in the air. Just then, a crackling voice came through the comm system. "Attention, Council. We have a critical situation developing outside the chamber. Unauthorized ships are approaching at high speed." Panic surged through the room as the lights flickered, and the atmosphere shifted again. "What now?" someone shouted, but Alina felt a familiar resolve. The universe was chaotic, and if there was one thing she had learned from this confrontation, it was that humanity could not afford to be passive. "Captain," her first officer whispered urgently, "we need to secure the perimeter. If we're exiled, we have to prepare to fight." Alina nodded, adrenaline reigniting. "Everyone, take positions. We can't allow this council to fall without a fight." As her crew rallied around her, a new determination took hold. Whatever the council decided, they would not go down without a struggle. Together, they would show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. The Resolute lurched as the ship's engines roared to life, propelled away from the council's homeworld. Captain Alina Vargas stood at the bridge, gripping the command console as her crew scrambled to regain control of their vessel. The chaotic aftermath of the council's judgment still reverberated in her mind. They had survived the pirate attack, But now they faced a different kind of threat. Exile. "Captain, we're entering the void sector now," Ensign Torres reported, his voice tense as he monitored the navigation displays. The ship's sensors were flickering, warning of unstable spatial anomalies ahead. "Maintain course," Alina ordered, her heart heavy with the weight of their new reality. "We'll find a way to regroup and rebuild." As the Resolute surged into the dark expanse of the void, the stars outside dimmed, swallowed by a thick veil of cosmic dust. The crew remained silent, each member grappling with their own fears and uncertainties. Alina could feel their unease. She needed to rally them, to instill a sense of purpose amidst the despair. "Listen up, everyone," she called, her voice cutting through the oppressive atmosphere. "We may be exiled, but we're still the crew of the Resolute *. We have each other, and that's more than most will ever have. We've survived battles before, and we'll survive this. Our mission is still intact, to explore, to learn, and to protect humanity. We will find a way to turn this exile into an opportunity." A murmur of agreement rippled through the bridge. She saw their spirits lift slightly, but there was still a palpable tension in the air. Just then, the ship's alarm blared again, cutting through their moment of resolve. "Captain, we're detecting an anomaly ahead," shouted Chief Engineer Mason, his hands flying across the console. "It's massive and unstable. We need to alter our course to avoid it." Alina felt her heart race. "What's our proximity to the anomaly?" "Too close for comfort, Captain. If we don't act now, we could be pulled in." "Divert power to the engines and adjust course," Alina commanded, adrenaline surging through her veins. The crew moved quickly, their training kicking in as they worked to avoid the impending danger. As the Resolute veered to the side, the ship shuddered violently. The view screen flickered, displaying a swirling mass of energy and light, a chaotic storm of cosmic forces. Alina's heart pounded as she realized how close they had come to disaster. "Steady, everyone," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil. "We'll navigate through this, just like we did on the council floor. We need to work together." The ship trembled again, and for a moment, it seemed like they might not make it. "Hold on," Mason shouted as he adjusted the stabilizers, and Alina felt the ship respond under her command. The anomaly loomed closer, tendrils of energy reaching out like ghostly fingers. "We're almost through," Torres called out, his eyes wide with concentration. "Just a few more seconds." With a final surge, the Resolute broke free of the anomaly's grasp, hurtling into the calm of open space on the other side. A collective sigh of relief echoed through the bridge, but Alina knew the danger was far from over. "Status report," she commanded, needing to focus the crew. "Structural integrity holding," Mason replied, breathing heavily. "But we've lost some auxiliary systems. We'll need to make repairs soon." Alina nodded, feeling the weight of her leadership. "Gather damage reports, and let's assess our situation. We can't afford to let our guard down." As her crew went to work, she stepped away from the command console to collect her thoughts. The reality of their exile sank in deeper. Without the Council's protection, they were now adrift in hostile territory. "Captain, sensors are picking up a signal," Torres announced, his voice cutting through her thoughts. "It's faint, but it seems to be coming from a nearby planet. It could be a distress signal." "Plot a course," Alina replied, a flicker of hope igniting within her. "We need to investigate. If there are survivors, we can help. And maybe we can learn more about our new reality out here." As the Resolute changed course, Alina felt the surge of determination in her crew. They were exiled, yes, but they were not alone. Together, they would forge a new path in the unknown depths of space. As the Resolute approached the planet, the crew gathered around the main view screen, their eyes filled with a mix of anticipation and unease. The surface was a mottled landscape of verdant green and deep brown, dotted with ancient ruins that hinted at a once thriving civilization. A faint distress signal pulsed rhythmically, beckoning them closer. "Captain, the signal is coming from the largest structure," Ensign Torres reported, zooming in on the towering remnants of what appeared to be a grand temple. Vines twisted around crumbling columns, and the architecture exuded an eerie beauty. It looked stable enough for landing. Alina nodded, her curiosity piqued. "Prepare for descent. We need to investigate. This could be our chance to gather resources or find allies." As the Resolute touched down on the dusty ground, the crew donned their environmental suits, stepping out into the alien atmosphere. The air was thick with moisture, and the sounds of strange wildlife echoed through the foliage. Alina led the way, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. "Stay close," she instructed, scanning the surroundings. "We don't know what might be lurking in the shadows." They made their way toward the temple, the distress signal growing stronger with each step. The structure loomed above them, its once grand facade now weathered and cracked. Vines snaked up the walls, and the entrance was partially obscured by overgrowth. As they entered, the dim interior revealed more remnants of the ancient civilization. Intricate carvings adorned the walls, depicting scenes of both beauty and violence. The crew moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing in the vast emptiness. "Look at this," Mason whispered, kneeling beside a shattered artifact. "This technology, it's advanced, far beyond what we currently possess." Alina stepped closer, studying the remains. "If we can unlock their secrets, we could enhance the Resolute Asterisks capabilities." Suddenly, the distress signal intensified, resonating through the chamber. "It's coming from deeper inside," Torres noted, glancing at the flickering lights embedded in the walls. With determination, they ventured further into the temple's heart. The air grew cooler, and a faint blue glow illuminated the path ahead. "What do you think it is?" asked one of the junior officers, her voice tinged with both excitement and fear. "I don't know, but it feels like we're not alone," Alina replied, instincts prickling. The atmosphere felt charged, almost alive. As they reached the inner sanctum, the source of the signal became clear. A massive console dominated the room, its surface shimmering with unfamiliar symbols. The distress signal pulsed from its center, and the glow brightened as they approached. "Captain, I think we can activate it," Torres exclaimed, his fingers dancing across the interface. "The console seems to be designed to respond to human technology. We might be able to communicate with whoever sent the signal." "Do it," Alina commanded, heart racing. Torres initiated the sequence, and the console whirred to life. A holographic projection flickered before them, revealing a humanoid figure composed of light. It hovered, its features indistinct, but exuding an aura of intelligence and urgency. "Welcome, travelers of the stars." The figure spoke, its voice echoing in their minds. "I am the guardian of the ancients. You have awakened me from a long slumber. Your kind is in peril, and I can assist you in your struggle." Alina felt a mix of awe and apprehension. "What do you know of our peril?" "The Zarkari approach, driven by their lust for conquest. They have decimated countless civilizations, and you are next," the guardian warned, its form flickering. "But the knowledge of my people lies within this temple. If you seek it, you may harness the power to protect yourselves." Mason stepped forward, eyes wide. "How do we access this knowledge?" The guardian gestured toward the console. "You must prove your worth by solving the trials of the ancients. Only then will you gain access to the technology you seek." Alina exchanged glances with her crew, the weight of the moment settling over them. "We accept the challenge," she declared, her voice steady. "Together, we will prove ourselves worthy." As the guardian faded, the room shifted, revealing a series of intricate puzzles that glowed with ethereal light. The trials of the ancients had begun, and the fate of humanity, and the galaxy, hung in the balance. The atmosphere in the ancient temple crackled with energy as Alina and her crew faced the first of the trials. The puzzles loomed like ancient sentinels, each one intricately designed and glowing with an otherworldly light. The urgency of their situation weighed heavily on them. Time was not on their side. The Zarkari threat loomed ever closer. "Stay sharp, everyone," Alina urged, her determination infectious. "We don't know what these trials will throw at us, but we'll face them together." Torres stepped forward to examine the first puzzle, a series of interlocking geometric shapes suspended in midair. "It looks like we need to align these shapes to form a specific pattern," he said, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Let's break into teams," Alina suggested. "2 puzzles at a time. We can't waste any more time." As the crew split up, Alina and Mason tackled a puzzle that shimmered with holographic symbols, reminiscent of the ancient language. Each time they aligned the symbols correctly, a soft chime echoed, and the room vibrated slightly, filling them with hope. But as they worked, a low rumble reverberated through the chamber. The air thickened with tension, and Alina glanced at Torres, who was still working on his puzzle. "Torres, keep it steady," she shouted, urgency seeping into her voice. The young ensign nodded, his hands deftly manipulating the shapes. Almost there, just a few more adjustments. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, and cracks spidered across the floor. The Guardian's voice reverberated in their minds. "Hurry! The Zarkari have detected your presence. They will come for you." Panic surged through the crew as the rumbling intensified. "We can't fail this trial," Mason exclaimed, urgency lacing his tone. "We need the knowledge." With renewed determination, Alina focused on the puzzle. "We can do this. Just concentrate." Moments later, Torres shouted, "I got it." He completed the final alignment, and a burst of light shot through the room, illuminating the chamber. The puzzle clicked into place, revealing a hidden compartment filled with shimmering data crystals. "Good job," Alina said, relief washing over her. "We need to keep moving." They gathered the crystals, knowing they would be crucial for the challenges ahead. But as they turned to face the next puzzle, the temple's entrance burst open, and shadows spilled in, Zarkari soldiers, their eyes glinting with malice. "Defend yourselves," Alina commanded, instinctively drawing her sidearm. The crew followed suit, forming a defensive line in front of the puzzles. The Zarkari advanced, their weapons humming with energy. Alina's heart raced as she faced the enemy head-on. "Hold the line. We can't let them disrupt our progress." The first shots rang out, lasers searing through the air. The crew returned fire, the crack of energy weapons reverberating against the stone walls. The fight was chaotic, the clash of their humanity against the alien menace unfolding like a dance of life and death. "Captain," Torres shouted, his voice trained, "we can't keep this up forever. We need to finish these trials. Focus on the puzzles. I'll hold them off," Alina shouted back, determination hardening her resolve. She stepped forward, firing at the advancing Zarkari, buying time for her crew. Mason, meanwhile, was working furiously at the second puzzle, the holographic symbols glowing ominously. "I need help," he yelled, frustration evident. Alina glanced back, torn between staying to fight and helping her crew. "I can't let them take us down here," she muttered, her instincts screaming. In a surge of adrenaline, she dashed back to Mason's side, providing cover fire while he concentrated on the puzzle. "You can do it," she urged, "just a little longer." As Mason worked, a beam of energy narrowly missed him, searing the ground beside them. The Zarkari pressed forward, relentless in their pursuit. With a final click, Mason completed the puzzle. The chamber lit up, and a blast of energy erupted from the console, momentarily stunning the Zarkari. "Now," Alina shouted, grabbing Mason's arm, "let's get out of here." As the crew retreated, clutching the data crystals, the Guardian's voice echoed in their minds. "You have passed the first trials, but the path is still perilous. You must find the knowledge quickly. The Zarkari will not stop until they claim it." Alina led her crew deeper into the temple, knowing they had only just begun to awaken the ancient secrets. With the threat of the Zarkari looming behind them, the urgency intensified. They had to unravel the mysteries of the ancients before it was too late. As Elena and her crew ventured deeper into the temple, the air grew thick with tension. Each footstep echoed ominously in the vast, darkened halls, illuminated only by the faint glow of the data crystals they had secured. The Zarkari threat loomed large in their minds. They knew it was only a matter of time before the enemy regrouped. "Keep your eyes peeled," Elena said, her voice low but urgent. "We don't know how many more Zarkari are out there." Mason, still clutching the data crystals, nodded as he glanced back at the entrance. "We need to find the main chamber. That's where the most critical knowledge should be stored." As they moved through the winding corridors, strange markings adorned the walls, glowing faintly in response to their presence. Elena paused to examine one, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns. "These carvings, they might hold clues to what we're looking for." "Or warnings," Torres added, his tone wary. "Let's not linger too long." Pushing forward, they finally reached a large door, intricately carved and pulsating with energy. "This has to be it," Mason said, stepping forward to examine the mechanism. "If we can get this open, we'll access whatever knowledge this civilization left behind." Elena placed a hand on his shoulder. "Let's do this quickly. We don't have much time." With a determined push, Mason began working on the door's console. The mechanism clicked and whirred, but just as it seemed they were making progress, the temple trembled again, and the walls reverberated with a low growl. "Get ready," Elena shouted, drawing her weapon. "We need to move." In a rush, the door slid open, revealing a vast chamber filled with holographic projections of ancient star maps, intricate technological blueprints, and shimmering images of the civilization that had once thrived here. It was breathtaking. "Wow," Torres breathed, stepping into the chamber. This is incredible." But Elena's attention was quickly drawn to the door they had just entered through. Shadows moved in the flickering light, and she could see the Zarkari soldiers advancing, their weapons primed for another attack. "Everyone, spread out. We need to access the information and defend ourselves," Elena commanded, urgency lacing her voice. The crew quickly fanned out, seeking shelter among the towering displays of ancient knowledge. Mason rushed to a central console, frantically tapping commands as holographic data swirled around him. "I can access the mainframe. Just give me a moment." Elena took up a defensive position beside him, her heart racing. "We need to hold them off. Torres, get to that side." Before she could finish, the Zarkari burst into the chamber, a wave of hostile energy surging through the air. Lasers lit up the dark, illuminating the frantic scene. "Engage," Elena shouted, firing her weapon into the fray. The first shots rang out, and the crew responded, their training kicking in as they focused on protecting Mason. Come on," Mason muttered, his fingers flying over the console. The Zarkari returned fire, and the crew ducked behind a holographic displays, the air thick with the smell of burnt ozone. "We can't hold them off forever," Torres yelled, reloading his weapon. "We need to get that information and get out of here." "I'm almost there," Mason shouted back, his focus unwavering. "Just a few more seconds." Elena peered around the edge of the display, assessing the advancing enemy. "Keep firing. Don't let them close the gap." The Zarkari soldiers pressed forward, their snarls echoing in the chamber. With every shot fired, Elena felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. They were humanity's last hope in this moment, and failure was not an option. "Got it," Mason shouted suddenly, and the central console exploded with light. A surge of energy washed over the chamber, causing the Zarkari to stagger back. "What did you do?" Elena asked, her heart racing. "I initiated a data upload. We have access to their technology. We can use it against them," Mason replied, grinning with exhilaration. "Then let's finish this," Elena shouted, taking advantage of the momentary confusion among the Zarkari. With newfound resolve, She and her crew surged forward, taking the fight to their enemies. The knowledge they had just acquired fueled their determination, transforming their fear into strength. As the battle raged on, Alina felt a shift within her. They were not just fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for the future of humanity, and they would not back down. Together, they would turn the tide against the Zarkari and reclaim their place in the stars. The chamber pulsed with energy as Mason completed the upload, the ancient technology responding to the crew's newfound resolve. Holographic projections flared to life, illuminating the room with intricate blueprints and tactical diagrams. "Everyone, take cover," Alina shouted as another volley of Zarkari fire tore through the air. The crew dove behind the holographic displays, using the technology as shields while the images danced chaotically around them. "Can you arm any of this tech?" Torres called, peering over the display, his eyes wide with excitement and fear. "I'm trying," Mason replied, fingers flying across the console. "The ancients had defensive mechanisms built into this system, but I need a few moments to stabilize the connection." Alina peeked around the display, noting the Zarkari regrouping, their eyes glinting with hunger. "We don't have a few moments. We need to keep them at bay." With a deep breath, she sprang into action. "Cover me," she shouted, rushing toward the console. She began firing at the advancing Zarkari, her aim steady as she picked off one soldier, then another. The air hummed with energy, her focus razor-sharp. "Almost there," Mason called, sweat beading on his brow as he wrestled with the console. The holograms flickered, then stabilized, revealing the vast knowledge of the ancients. Suddenly, a pulse of energy shot from the console, enveloping the room in a brilliant light. Alina shielded her eyes, heart racing, as the light coalesced into a solid form. A shimmering barrier formed around them, protecting the crew from incoming fire. "Nice work, Mason," Torres exclaimed, marveling at the barrier. "We can use this to our advantage." "Let's push forward," Alina urged, emboldened by the new defense. The Zarkari had momentarily stalled, confused by the sudden shift in power dynamics. "Ready," Torres called, his weapon aimed at the nearest opening in the barrier. Alina nodded, adrenaline surging through her veins. "On 3. 1, 2, 3. With a collective shout, they surged forward, stepping through the shimmering barrier and launching their counteroffensive. The Zarkari soldiers reeled, disoriented by the unexpected defense. The crew worked in synchrony, covering one another as they pushed deeper into the ranks of the enemy. Alina felt a sense of unity with her team that she had never experienced before, a shared purpose driving them forward. "Get to the console," Alina shouted to Mason, who was still busy navigating the holographic systems. "We need to access everything the ancients left behind." As Mason continued his work, the crew provided covering fire, taking out Zarkari soldiers one by one. Each shot fired felt like a testament to their resilience, a declaration that they would not be crushed under the weight of exile. "Mason, any updates?" Alina yelled, ducking behind another holographic display as a laser bolt ricocheted off the barrier. "I'm activating the defensive systems," he shouted back, fingers dancing across the console. "If I can just integrate our weapons with the ancients' technology, we can turn their own tactics against them." With a final flourish, Mason hit a button, and a series of turrets materialized from the walls, primed and ready for combat. They whirred to life, locking onto the Zarkari and firing a barrage of energy blasts. "Now that's what I call an upgrade," Torres cheered, the tide of battle shifting in their favor as the turrets unleashed their firepower. Alina seized the moment, coordinating their attack. "Push them back. We need to secure this chamber and find a way to disable their command structure." As the Zarkari began to falter under the relentless assault, Alina's heart swelled with hope. They were more than just survivors. They were becoming a force to be reckoned with. But just as victory seemed within reach, a familiar, imposing figure emerged from the shadows. The Zarkari commander, towering and menacing, His eyes narrowed with fury. "Foolish humans, you think you can defy the Zarkari?" Alina's blood ran cold. The energy in the room shifted, tension crackling in the air. "We will not be your prey," she shouted back, standing tall. The commander's lips curled into a snarl, revealing sharp teeth. "You will pay for your insolence." As he raised his weapon, the crew braced for a final confrontation. This battle was not just about survival. It was a fight for their future, and they were ready to unleash the power of the ancients. With determination blazing in their hearts, they prepared to face the Zarkari commander head-on. The chamber crackled with tension as the Zarkari commander leveled his weapon at Alina, a sinister glint in his eyes. "Your defiance will be your undoing," he hissed, voice dripping with contempt. Alina's heart raced, but she steeled herself. "We're not afraid of you," she shouted, raising her weapon. The crew took positions behind the newly activated turrets, ready for the imminent clash. The commander unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, each bolt striking the ground with explosive force. Alina dove for cover, narrowly avoiding the searing energy that lit up the chamber. "Fall back. Use the turrets for cover," she yelled, adrenaline surging through her veins. The crew scrambled behind the protective barriers, the turrets engaging automatically, their targeting systems locking onto the commander. The air was thick with the hum of energy weapons and the smell of burnt ozone as the two sides exchanged fire. "Focus fire on his position," Alina ordered, feeling the weight of her responsibility. The crew responded in unison, their weapons trained on the commander, while the turrets rained down a flurry of energy blasts. But the commander was relentless. With a swift movement, he deflected the incoming fire, his own weapon crackling with power. "You think this technology can save you?" he roared, pushing forward, determined to break through their defenses. "Stay sharp. Don't let him through," Torres shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Alina felt the energy in the room shift. They needed to outsmart the commander, not just overpower him. "Mason, can you override the turrets to target the ceiling?" she shouted, formulating a plan. "On it," Mason replied, his fingers flying over the console as he reprogrammed the turrets. The crew continued to fire, drawing the commander's attention, while Mason adjusted the systems. "Now," he shouted, activating the turret's new target. With a deafening crash, the turrets redirected their fire upwards, blasting through the ancient stone ceiling. Dust and debris rained down, disorienting the commander and blocking his line of sight. "Now's our chance," Alina yelled, sprinting forward with Torres and Mason at her side. They rushed toward the commander, their weapons raised and determination fueling their every step. As they closed in, the commander regained his composure, eyes blazing with fury. "You will pay for this insolence," he snarled, charging at them with surprising speed. Alina sidestepped, narrowly avoiding his onslaught. "We've got this," she shouted, coordinating their movements. Torres flanked the commander, firing in quick bursts, while Mason prepared to unleash another surprise. Just as the commander turned to counter Torres, Mason activated a shockwave device, hidden within the temple's ancient technology. A pulse of energy rippled outward, destabilizing the commander and causing him to stumble. "Now," Alina shouted, seizing the opportunity. She rushed forward, taking aim at the commander's vulnerable flank. With a precise shot, she hit his weapon, causing it to explode in a shower of sparks. The Zarkari commander reeled, momentarily stunned. You cannot defeat me," he roared, fury evident in his voice. But Alina pressed on. "No, we will defeat you. You've underestimated us for too long." With her crew rallying behind her, they unleashed a barrage of fire, their combined strength overwhelming the Zarkari leader. The energy blast struck true, forcing the commander back. With a final, desperate cry, he fell to the ground, defeated. The room fell silent, the remnants of battle hanging in the air. "We did it," Torres breathed, disbelief etched on his face. "We actually did it." Alina nodded, panting as she surveyed the chamber. But this isn't over. We still need to access the rest of the Ancients' knowledge before the Zarkari regroup. Mason returned to the console, fingers dancing over the holographic interface. I'll extract everything I can, but we need to hurry. The Zarkari will have reinforcements soon. As Mason worked, Alina felt a swell of hope mixed with urgency. They had overcome the commander, but the real battle lay ahead. They needed to harness the power of the Ancients to protect humanity from the Zarkari threat. "Let's finish this," she said, steeling herself for the next challenge. "For our future, and for everyone counting on us." With renewed determination, the crew prepared to delve into the heart of the ancient knowledge, ready to unleash the full potential of what they had discovered. The fight for survival was far from over, but together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. Mason's fingers flew across the holographic interface as the ancient console hummed with energy. "I'm accessing the core knowledge now," he exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement and fear. "If I can extract their advanced weapon schematics and strategic databases, we might stand a chance against the Zarkari fleet." Alina stood guard, scanning the chamber for any signs of movement. The defeat of the commander had bolstered their spirits, but they couldn't afford to relax. "We need to be quick. I don't want to face another wave of Zarkari without the upper hand." "Almost there," Mason muttered, his brow furrowing in concentration. The holograms flickered around him, displaying a kaleidoscope of ancient technology and star maps. The room pulsed with energy as data streamed toward their ship's systems. Just then, the ground shook, and a distant rumble echoed through the chamber. "They're here," Torres shouted, gripping his weapon tightly. "Reinforcements are coming. Keep the entrance covered." Alina commanded, her heart racing. She could see shadows moving outside, the unmistakable silhouettes of Zarkari soldiers converging on their location. "Done," Mason declared, a triumphant smile breaking across his face. "I've downloaded the schematics and defensive protocols. We can enhance the Resolute Asterisks weaponry and shields." "Let's move," Alina shouted, ushering her crew back toward the console. "Mason, you and Torres get to the ship. I'll cover you." The crew nodded, moving quickly as Alina positioned herself at the entrance, her weapon raised. She felt a rush of adrenaline as the Zarkari soldiers stormed in, their eyes filled with malice. "You won't take us again," she shouted, firing at the first soldier to breach the threshold. Energy blasts ricocheted around the chamber as the Zarkari returned fire. The sound of weapons clashing filled the air, but Alina held her ground. Her crew was counting on her, and she would not let them down. "Go, now," she yelled as Torres and Mason sprinted for the exit. As they dashed past her, Alina kept firing, taking down 2 more soldiers before the Zarkari pressed closer. The ancient barrier flickered under the intensity of the blasts, but it held. She could feel the tide of battle shifting, and she needed to retreat before they were overwhelmed. "Fall back, Alina," Torres shouted from the doorway. "We're almost there." With one final shot, Alina turned and ran, racing toward the exit. The sound of Zarkari soldiers closing in echoed in her ears, but she pushed herself faster. She could see the Resolute Asterisk ahead, the ship a beacon of hope in the chaos. As she reached the ramp, Mason was already at the controls, frantically initiating pre-flight checks. "We've got to hurry. They'll be right behind us." Alina jumped aboard, barely catching her breath as she slid into her seat. "Get us out of here," she shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Mason pressed buttons, and the ship's engines roared to life. The ramp began to close just as the Zarkari surged toward them, their howls echoing through the air. "Hold on," Mason yelled, flipping switches and sending the Resolute Asterisk soaring into the sky. The ship shuddered as they broke free from the atmosphere, the ancient temple shrinking beneath them. As they escaped, Alina leaned back in her seat, heart racing. "Did we make it?" she asked, breathless. Mason grinned, eyes sparkling with excitement. "We did, and now we have the technology to fight back." Alina's heart swelled with hope. We'll rally our forces. This time, we won't be exiled or outmatched. The Zarkari will know that humanity stands united. Communications are online. Torres reported, toggling switches. We can send a message to the Alliance. Alina nodded, determination filling her voice. Let them know what we found. We have the key to turn the tide in this war. As they plotted their course back to the nearest human settlement, Alina looked out at the stars. The vastness of space no longer felt empty. It brimmed with potential and hope. The fight was far from over, but they had taken a monumental step forward. With the knowledge of the ancients on their side, humanity would rise to meet the Zarkari threat head-on. Together, they would carve a new destiny for their people, one that embraced their strength, unity, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. The dawn of a new era had begun, and Alina was ready to lead the charge.